taking time out of his busy day, as he's done for well over a year now, as we've been dealing with this pandemic. It's our good friend, Dr. Dennis Norem from Mercy Health. Dr. Norem, good morning to you.
Good morning to you guys.
How's everything in your world this morning?
It's doing well. I'm back here in Illinois, enjoying the warmer weather.
Congrats. The warmer weather. Yeah, you just missed the mugginess. That's your problem.
No, I missed that 100 degrees that Tucson had, I think, yesterday or the day before.
Makes you feel alive, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Let's go with that. Well, there's a lot to talk about this morning, Dr. Norem. New guidelines coming out. Fully vaccinated people, those who are 2 weeks past their final dose of COVID-19 vaccine, can quit wearing masks outdoors in crowds, in most indoor settings, give up social distancing. However, partially vaccinated or unvaccinated should still continue to wear masks. Guidance calls for masks in crowded indoor settings, including buses, airplanes, hospitals, prisons, and homeless shelters. To many people, that announcement that came last week is chuck the mask.
Yeah, I think that's a good thing, but it's just a little premature. We're not quite ready to completely chuck the mask. As you just pointed out, there are areas of exception. And I think the other bottom line is we still need to follow the rules of whatever facility or institution that you are entering. Certainly traveling, it's going to be a while, I think, before buses, airplanes, those type of places are going to be able to chuck the mask. But it's very encouraging to see that we are at the point where people that are vaccinated are really at very, very low risk of either becoming symptomatic with COVID or the issue of spreading COVID, which we don't think people that are vaccinated are likely to spread COVID at all.
So let's be harbingers of doom here, and we've seen the mutations, pop up, across the world. Is there a scenario where this pops up somewhere in America here, and we have to go back to mask, go back to lockdown? And will that be possible to convince people to go back to mask, back to lockdown if something happens in a couple months?
Well, I think we'll address that one first. I think it would be very difficult to get people to go back to lockdown. I think we all realize that. We're all sick and tired of this.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's unlikely that we'll see a mutated virus that is not affected or protected by the vaccine, but it's certainly possible. So far, I don't think anything in the world has popped up that says that the vaccine that we currently have does not work, specifically the messenger RNA vaccines, which have worked very well. But that's always possible, and I hate to even bring that up. There's always the possibility that there would be a mutant out there that the vaccine would not be effective against. The good news is that the companies are already working on, the booster or new variations of the vaccine against the known variants.
Yeah, so just to go back, one more question about the mutations. Everything you've read, we haven't had a mutation yet that was the vaccine was less effective against than the original COVID-19 virus, correct?
Well, we're kind of splitting hairs here, but I think a couple of them, it isn't quite as effective. People are maybe a little more likely to get symptomatic, but it appears that it protects them against hospitalization and death. So you might argue, yeah, maybe a couple of these mutants are a little more aggressive with vaccinated people, but the bottom line is keeping people out of the hospital and keeping people from dying. So far, they work quite well.
Looking at some of the numbers, according to the Associated Press anyway, close to 47% of the adult population here in the U.S. has been vaccinated, according to data published by the CDC. Nearly 60% of the adult population has received at least one dose, and that rate is expected to rise shortly following the Food and Drug Administration's approval for the use of Pfizer vaccine in kids between the ages of 12 and 15. So it appears that we're very nearly at the halfway point, and they're quite confident we'll cross that.
And again, very good news, especially the ability to vaccinate kids. I think the CDC is still recommending that schools continue to mask kids at least through the end of this school year. But hopefully, as we start school in the fall, enough kids will be vaccinated, at least in the high school grades, that masks won't be necessary. Having said that, though, there seems to be more vaccine hesitancy by parents regarding their kids. I'm not quite sure why I understand that, but that seems to be kind of the general theme that I've seen when they interview parents that have been vaccinated. Many of them say, well, I've been vaccinated, but I'm not sure about my kids. I would encourage people to discuss that with their pediatrician or their physician, because we need to get the kids vaccinated.
Do you see people being more concerned about younger, like the 12 to 16 as opposed, 16 and over, or have you seen hesitancy amongst all ages to get the kids vaccinated?
I think there's hesitancy amongst all ages, but it seems to be that parents, have a little more concern about their kids, and I'm not sure why, because, we require so many vaccines for kids to go to school. I just look at this is another vaccine that we are requiring. So I'm hoping that, again, as we get through the summer, people will get their kids vaccinated.
And it's wild to look at the steps being made here, the issuance of guidance from the CDC last week. When you turn right around and you look at what continues to go on in India, it's like a tale of two worlds.
Yeah, it's just been devastating. I did see that some of the major urban areas in India, they're starting to see a slowdown in their numbers. However, they're not sure if that's really true across the whole country, in that they do have some testing capability in their major cities, but out in the rural areas, they have virtually none. So they're really not sure what's going on out in the rural areas. And I think they're again, as we discussed, their vaccination rates are extremely low. They're less than 2% in the whole country. So they're really still in big trouble.
Go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, bring it back here for a second and explain this to me, doctor. We've seen a lot of vaccinated people. It's happened in baseball to a couple people. We've seen just a lot of stories. Vaccinated people still coming with positive COVID-19 tests. Is this just if you are vaccinated and you have the positive COVID-19 test? Is that you're not necessarily being infected with it, but you're just being a carrier of it? How are these vaccinated people showing up with positive tests?
I think you're referring to the New York Yankees.
Yes.
That's gotten a lot of publicity. They just announced yesterday the 9th Yankee tested positive between players and staff. And I think it's an important issue to talk about. Out of those 9, only 1 was symptomatic, and they do routine testing of everybody, as Major League Baseball is doing. So it indicates that, again, the vaccine doesn't protect you 100% from having the virus in your system, but it does protect you from getting disease for most people. The other thought with the Yankees is they received the J&J vaccine, the one shot. Mm-hmm. And we know that the one-shot vaccine is 70 to 75% effective, but 25% it's not. So there's a chance 1 out of 4, 1 out of 5 people with that vaccine could still get a symptomatic infection from COVID. But the good news is 8 out of 9 people were totally asymptomatic. It just showed that they had the virus at the time they were tested. So I think that is reassuring that the vaccines work.
And speaking of the vaccines, at this point, plentiful, pretty much everywhere. Get in touch with your physician. Stop by major retail. I mean, it seems to be that if you wish to get the vaccine, it's ready and available for you in a multitude of places.
Absolutely. Clearly in this community, it's available in a multitude of places. Most communities, I think it's true. There may be some rural areas and some inner city areas where they're still struggling a little bit. But, boy, it's not hard to get the vaccine. You can call the health department, you can call a hospital, you can call a pharmacy. Get the vaccine. Can't emphasize that enough. Even though we've reached a point where we can maybe get rid of our masks, we're still not quite there yet. We'd like to see, 75, 80% of the population vaccinated fully. And I think we feel much better about opening up this country.
All right, so if we got the news, if you're fully vaccinated, you can go ahead and take the mask off. Maybe a lot of people that was what maybe got them to go get vaccinated. Finally, want to get rid of this mask. Is there? If I got my shot today, when am I fully vaccinated? Do I? If I got my second
2
shot,
weeks.
Is 2 weeks from your final?
2 weeks after your second shot.
Is the same thing?
Getting, and 2 weeks after your first shot if you get the J&J.
Okay, so 2 weeks after your shot, you are fully vaccinated.
Yes.
Okay.
Well, part of this too, and we had talked about this before when Dr. Fauci comes out and says, okay, well, you've been fully vaccinated, all that, but we still need you to wear the mask, we still need you to social distance, we still need you to do that. I thought that was one of the world's worst sales jobs I'd ever heard in my life, because one of the keys to get many people in to do it was the idea that we could get rid of that mask, that we could get rid of that social distancing and come back with some sense of normalcy. It appears that maybe the powers that be thought this over and went, yeah, we're not doing a very good sales job here.
I think that's probably part of it. I think one of the issues clearly is the incentive here. Here's an incentive. You get vaccinated, you can get rid of your mask in most cases. But part of it also was science. I think they cited that there were at least 3 studies that they based this decision on. And those studies just came out within the last couple of weeks to show that people that are vaccinated did not get sick generally and did not pass the virus on to other people. So there was certainly science behind this, but clearly there's a push to help incentivize people who are hesitant to say, look, you get vaccinated, you can get rid of your mask. And I think that's a huge incentive.
I think I just maybe want to talk about, what you just brought up there. Yes, what Dr. Fauci said, a couple weeks ago, if you get fully vaccinated, we still want you to do stuff like that. We still want you to stay, mask up, socially distance. I mean, Riles, you said it's a bad sales job.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean it's not inaccurate for what he said, 3 weeks ago. The studies we weren't ready for to go fully maskless. But it sounds like Dr. Norem, as a doctor, the tests that we've seen the last month or so has proven this to be the right move. We're not just telling people it's okay now to get them vaccinated. There is some actual data behind the fact that it is okay to take the mask off if you are the 2 weeks after your vaccination.
Yes, I think there's good science behind it, and there's certainly no study that would indicate otherwise. But clearly, there's been a lot of pressure on the CDC to go in this direction. And again, I think the tipping point was really this idea that this is an incentive for people who are hesitant.
Okay.
Come on, guys, and we are pushing 60% at least one shot, which we know that those people will get their second shot generally. So I think overall it's a good decision. Because in all honesty, it's going to be hard for any of us to go back and mask again. I mean, it's just been miserable.
Yeah, and the idea, and plus, once you get a break from it, then go, okay, well, break's over, let's get back to it now. Yeah, like you said, that's going to be a tough one. But one of the other things I think is going to be tough for different businesses in different places is you're going to have to rely on an honor system there. You see somebody coming through unmasked, well, you're going to assume that's because that person has been vaccinated.
Yeah, that's the biggest concern about this. I hate to say it, but people who are truly anti-vaxxers, we're not talking about the hesitant crowd. We're talking about the hardcore, die-hard, anti-vax people. I don't expect them to be honest. And I think what you'll find is they'll just throw the mask away, and if anybody asks them, they'll just say, "Oh, I'm vaccinated." That's unfortunate. But I think what you are going to see are cruise ships for sure, and other major institutions. I mean, colleges actually require proof of vaccine, which I think they should.
Well, the Cubs and White Sox have opened up a couple sections to fully vaccinated people that they require, proof that you did actually get vaccinated. So I'm sure no one will have any problem showing a vaccination card for proof that they're safe. That will go smoothly.
Oh yeah, that'll be very smooth.
Yeah. That'll only generate 2 or 3 fights a day. And we're going to be seeing YouTube or home videos of melees over.
Yep. Oh yeah. Yep.
Oh, yeah.
Yep. But you won't be able to see the broken teeth or bloody nose because they'll be wearing a mask. It'll be okay. It'll be okay.
Well, you will now because they won't be wearing a mask.
Oh, yeah. So there is a drawback to all of that. Dr. Norem, as always, we appreciate you taking time out of your day as you've done week after week after week for us as we continue on this. There's nothing, as you had mentioned, more we would like more than to go, you know what? We're all done with all of this thing. The segment is canceled because we're back to normal. We're not there yet. So we'll look forward to talking to you again next week.
Sounds good, guys. Take care.
We appreciate it. Dr. Dennis Norem from Mercy Health.